We are going to be talking about the pros and cons next of opening up. So, when you open up your hand, again, sorry we start from this, but it's worth at least restating so that we can move forward with them. So, the pros are, if you're doing it right, so if you're not opening nonsense, your hand should be faster. That almost, makes sense. The cons are your hand becomes more vulnerable because you have less tiles to choose from if you choose to fold. And you meld off shapes that may be more efficient closed. So you can have shapes that almost act as two different pieces at once. They connect off two different melds at once. And when you open up, you lock in the meld. So you have to be careful with how you open because you could actually be making your hand slightly less efficient. Maybe not in a Shanten sense, but in a terms of tile acceptance sense. So the important considerations when you're calling are, firstly, how feasible is your hand in actually completing with Yaku closed? How much imagination do you actually have to use in order to complete the hand? Or, secondly, is how valuable your hand is being closed compared to open. Because a lot of hands lose value when they become open. And this is stuff you have to think about in-game and decide what you're comfortable with, right? And the third point is, and I think this is really important, is how are your opponents? If your opponents are not showing danger, or if they are showing danger, what do you react with based on that scenario and based on your need of points? Because if you look at your opponents and they look like they have slow discards, and you have a hand that is either Ishanten for Tanyao or Tushanten for Tanyao, Pinfu, San, Shoku, Dora 1, you may choose to take the latter option, or you may choose to take try to go for an open of the latter option if you think that the opponents aren't fast, or vice versa, if you think the opponents are far too fast, you may decide to open and catch up in terms of pace. So, time for the pick. I love this spot. Thank you so much, Moku, for this spot. This spot is actually amazing. P.O. Yes, P.O. You wanted to be on here.
Okay, so what do I do here? That's the main question. So the Haku is being thrown Tsumogiri, and my option right now is whether to pwn right now or not.
Yes.
So I think it's pretty early. I would probably pass up. I would probably pass up on this Haku, just because there's a lot of ways for you to just get into Tenpai without opening your hand anyway. If you get into Tenpai with like let's say you draw like the 4, 5, or 7, so then your Tenpai for the Shabo on the 5-pin, the Haku, which is like, not great. But man, I don't know. I would probably pass up on it because it is so early, and that the chances of it being in the dead wall are not that high. That there'll probably be another one at another point in Hanshan. Maybe, I don't know, yeah, that's my answer. Because there's a lot of ways to improve, and on the off chance that the Haku ends up being your pair, let's say you draw another 5-pin, you can choose to go for the 4/7 Ryamen, discarding the 5-so, and you have a lot of Sozu in your discard pile. So people might be a little bit more inclined to discard Sozu, especially because you're discarding them so early. I don't know. That is an option.
Something I want to bring up, in terms of something that's worth considering. Look at if you look at the board, is there anything that sticks out, like a sore thumb into your brain?
Oh, well, the fact that the Dora was just discarded right after the Tsumogiri Haku. It's a little
Perfect.
spooky.
So yes, exactly. Who? So they've already Tedashi. So Tedashi is when you take a tile from the middle of your hand. They've already taken a Dora from the middle of their hand. It's not. Well, sorry, not does this not, but it raises the suspicions, surely, because
Yeah.
especially in the first row, you either want to develop tiles around the Dora, or if you don't need it, you're close. At least if you have like a reasonable player playing.
For sure. So
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I think they're trying to go for like a better weight or something over there, by just being Dama, or like, because I feel like if I was in their situation and I was Tenpai right with this Haku discard, I would reach. Um, just because it's pretty early. Not knowing what the composition of their hand is, but I think I would reach if I was them and I was Tenpai right there. Of course, like maybe they're just Chinitsu and something disgusting, and then they just Dama. But it's so early that I think the risk is minimal right now. But maybe you're right. Like maybe I do take the pawn and just get into Tenpai for a fast Hakudora 1.
I don't. Okay, so I don't want any like talk of like right or wrong. This is purely a
No,
discussion,
no.
right?
Yeah.
That's my point. That's my point. Yeah.
Like that is an
So,
option because Adora was discarded. Like it is like maybe I just speed the hand up real fast and then just win. Just take the dub right now and just move it along. And you're Oya, so maybe that is the right call. But my gut instinct is to pass.
and like I understand that instinct, right? It sort of feels bad to have this hand go down to 2900 when it could even be like 7700 if you hit the Haku. For me, and something worth discussing. Most of the time, you look at it and you say, okay, well, as long as it's not in the dead wall, I should be able to get the Haku. But really, reasonably speaking, with this early 2-man discard, you don't have the dead wall. You have like until about here to get into Tenpai, which is a lot less tiles. And the main reason why I want to say that is because they're already cutting the Dora. I'm going to assume that they're close. Like
Yeah.
I'm just reasonably going to expect that they're close. And if they're close, I don't have that many turns to get to Tenpai. So I am hoping that the Haku is within this section of the wall. Sorry, is not within this section of the wall. Because otherwise, they may get into Tenpai first, and I may have to chase them on a 5-pin Haku weight, which just feels awful. Or, even worse, what if I just have to fold?
Yeah.
And so because of that, I would say you take it, because you're not only stuffed if the Haku is in the dead wall, you are stuffed if the Haku is in the latter half of the last part of the wall. As your hand is too slow. Other people are just going to get there way before you can get there. And that's adding on top of the risk of it just being in the dead wall and you're just dead in the water waiting for a 5-pin, which is incredibly horrendous. An early 2-sided is pretty nice. 2900? I guess it doesn't change the positions, but shuts down whatever weird hand that they're very comfortable just yeeting the Dora on turn 4.
You take that, and you're Oya. Like, you're
exactly. So I'm in firm support of
yes,
taking the hand.
I agree with you. I walk back my gut reaction. Well, that's what this lecture's about, you know? Reevaluate.
And and even if you do Riichi, most of the time you end up on the 5-pin Haku way, and you want the Haku anyways, and so that becomes really, really like liberal. You know, you want to do this and you want to do that. When you sometimes you'll get stuck at those options. In this case, I feel like, you know, just take it and run and put the 2900 in your pocket and then hope for the best. That's my personal stance, especially with this 2-month cut. Like this is like blaring emergency signs. They didn't want to build anything around it. So like, why don't they want to build anything around it? You know what? I don't want to find out. And you can even like discount Honitsu, because what Honitsu cuts 2 Yakuhai honors? Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my analysis. But like you're very fair in sort of what you're thinking. It is a very gut reaction to be like, I'll wait for the second one. But in consideration in waiting for the second one is always you have to consider not what if it's in the dead wall. It's what if it's in the last 8 draws of the wall. Can I survive that? Can I survive the next 6 to 8 turns with this board state? The Haku being in there, and I would say you cannot. But yes, thank you, Pierre. That was an amazing answer. Thank you so much. Let's see. Next one. Ah, yes. This one is such spicy hot take. I'm so all right. My answer is such a spicy hot take here. All right, Mike. Hello. Welcome.
I exist here now. Hello.
Yes. Look at this and tell me, what do you think?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, at least I can. So,
let's see.
Take your time.
These two, that's nice. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. At first I would think I'm down 1,000 from the dealer and there's 1,300 on the table. But if I call that right now and complete it, I would be waiting on. I want Tanya, but I'm waiting for the 1-4. I think, but I have to cut this south, and this person's going for half flush, and there's only one south out.
What makes you think they're going for a half flush?
Oh wait, no, I forgot. I was thinking about it, then it's gone. No, that might just be a fast hand with the east. Yeah, they could be just going fast too, but then I need to. But it would be good to catch up with them. But I know I just want to get that south out of my hand. I want to call.
So is your
also,
reason?
Sorry, there's also 2 1-mons out, so it's less likely to come out.
So, no need to say sorry. This is the whole point. It's a discussion of ideas. What I did was a spicy hot take, and I'm not going to say it's absolutely correct, but I would say why I did it, and I think that's more important. So no need to say sorry. This is purely like a platform of just discussion of, why do you think? So you want to skip this, right? And that's perfect. That's very reasonable. You're Rangman Ishanten for Reach Pinfu Dora Dora. That is a huge hand, like absolutely huge. So don't get me wrong. I'm not going to tell you that waiting is bad. I just want to hear your rationale, right? Because you're offered the option here.
I wouldn't do this in a game so early.
Okay.
Even though
so you think that because I still have a few draws left, I should wait?
Yes, I would. If I'm going to wait for the 1-4, I'd rather be going for Pinfu.
Yep. Fair enough.
Especially when I already have
been advertised.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So what you're mentioning is fundamentally a very good idea. And I think Butane was telling me about this earlier, which is like when you're Rangman Ishanten for a Mangan, you normally have to wait. Like it doesn't really matter if you end up dealing in. The hand is so valuable that you should wait. So waiting is a good instinct. The way I saw the scenario, and this is just purely me, I saw my hand as being Tanya Dora Dora, potentially, right? So if this was for 4-man, this is a much easier decision because you end up with 2-sided weight for 3,900, right? The player to your right, they have early 4-pin and an early 7-pin in their pot, right? So I'm already cancelled out Honetsu chance because it just doesn't make sense. So I'm going to imagine their hand is not as expensive. Not saying that that's always true. They may have a lot of 2-mans in their hand, which is why they're opening up very aggressively and could win off me for a lot. But I would still say even then, the south is not as dangerous as most tiles are in this state. So
because it's not even their.
The questioning becomes pacing. Now, Let's look at the order of these discards, right? So something that Suzuki Taro Pro, so this is an M-Liga, says is the biggest, most important thing you look at when you look at discards is discards that come out of order. And so if we look at these discards, what's the biggest out of order discard? In your opinion?
And although there's that 4-pin there, the 4-man is closer to having Dora, but they've already gotten rid of it.
Mm-hmm. I think the big one is this 9-man, right? Like what hand? Because sorry, we have Tedashi's and Tsumogiris on, and so the blank the faded tiles are when you've just drawn it and discarded it. But this person has
I didn't know that.
taken from inside of their hand this 4-pin, and as you've correctly said, this 4-man, which is right next to the Dora, 7-pin is still more feasible because
They have something else in
this
their hand.
9-man has come out incredibly out of order, almost like they either completed a shape near the 9-man, or they're waiting by cutting something near that shape. Either or, this is a very odd tile to come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I personally looked at that in-game and thought, they're probably in Tenpai. I don't actually know what they're waiting on, because this 9-man could be indicative of completing a shape near the 9-man, or it could be indicative of waiting around the 9-man. I don't actually know. Like, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I do. But I think all I can say is this is very, very, very out of order. Like, this is not normal. If you had a normal hand, can you imagine a hand that would take an isolated 9-man after taking out all of these very nice, efficient mid-tiles? Especially if their hand, as they're indicating, is going fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, right? So, because of that, and because they're in Tenpai, I called to keep pace, because I did not want to wait to try and pick up another tile. I'm not going to lie to you guys and say that this is a good wait. This is a horrible wait. But
Again, if they want to also defend against the person to your right, they might throw the 4, so you're already waiting.
So yeah, you're perfectly right, because the person on my right is the loudest. Sorry, that's a very analog term, but you can imagine a player who calls often as being the loudest. They draw a lot of attention to their hand, especially if they have suspicious discards. Like, if you look at my discards, honors, and then now I'm going to call and cut another honor. I don't indicate anything about my hand, but this is a loud discard pool. Sorry for using that term, it's not very exact, but like, it creates a lot of noise. It's like, why would you do this? Why would you put yourself at so much risk?
What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just sort of like, they're drumming it around. So you're perfectly right. They may look at that pond over my pond. I could still be pushing, Ishan 10 for Tanyao or something like that. So I decided at the time, they're probably in Tenpai. They're definitely the loudest player. And I want the value of that extra 1,300 in the middle, plus Tanyao Dora Dora. It is an awful, awful, awful wait. You guys about that. But I decided to imagine it instead of a Atozuke on the 4-man as being some sort of Kanshan on the 4-man. Right? That's not always accurate, but I imagined it at least in that direction. And I would take that in that scenario. So I thought this scenario is slightly weaker than that scenario, but I would still take it here. So that's why I decided to call 3-bit. It is a spicy hot take. Sorry?
Did you check what you would have drawn if you didn't take it?
Oh, no, I ended up winning the hand. And so there is some results oriented bias. But I thought it was at least worth discussing, because it is a hot take. I'm not going to say that this is not a hot take. Like, I am calling off my bad shape, my good shape, to end up on a bad weight. But I wanted to keep pace with my player to my right. And so this is an example of how I thought about keeping pace with the player to my right. At least worth discussing. I'm happy to have disagreements about it. Like, I think Butaine's books say that you should never do this ever. But at least this was, I think the more important thing is the mentality, right? It's noticing this order and being like, well, this is odd compared to these things. I need to think about this. What hand could possibly do that unless they were close, or even just in Tenpai, which is, I believe, the better, the more indicative thing. And if it's in Tenpai, well, I want to be in Tenpai too, because being in Tenpai and being in Shanten are polarizing. So yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Really, really good answers. Thank you. Let's pick this one. I love this one so much. I love this one so much. I love it so much. Amy Haiku. Tell me, what do you think?
Oh boy.
Sorry, this is my favorite picture that I've taken. Sorry, I can't stop laughing at it. It's my favorite picture. So tell me, what do you think?
Okay, so cool. We're top one, third place, close to second. 1,300 on the table. And we want to take this spicy Sanshoku. Yeah, so that's good. I think we're a bit too far from Chanta. So I wouldn't rely on Chanta. Just the Sanshoku. I mean, if we took it, we'd have to literally call everything else. But at the same time, I don't think this hand would complete without calling. Sure, because if we do start the call fest, we might completely shut down Kamicha since they are in first, and it probably wouldn't drop like the sevens that we would need. I think we should wait and see.
Yeah. Okay.
I love the picture. Thank you, Jay.
I think exactly what you said earlier is exactly why I want to call. This hand is so hard to complete closed. I need to finish off the 7-pin, 7-so, redraw another block, and that's just difficult. And if I want the 7-8-9 Sanshoku, I need the 9-mon, right? And so I've been offered the 9-mon, and I'm deciding right now, do I want this to be open or closed? And the biggest thing for me is I have 2 Dora, so I'm not opening for worthless, essentially. I'm opening for Sanshoku Dora, which is 3,900, which is a non-trivial amount of money, right? And also, oddly enough, I have my blocks. 7-8-9-mon is a block, 4-5 is a block, 1-pin is a block, this is a block, and this is a block. So I only really need to develop something around the 4-so, right? Which is not awful. It's not great, but it's not awful. And also, if I try to Riichi this, I would not only need to fill in awkward shapes, I would end up with Riichi Dora, which is 5,200, right? Which is not bad. But essentially, I'm exchanging, what I'm choosing to do by calling is I'm exchanging 1,300 potential points for the ability to call and finish my hand faster.
I see. So would you call and then discard 2-pin? Like,
yes, absolutely.
Okay. Because you don't actually need to develop anything around the 4-so, right? You have 5 blocks.
It's mostly I want to isolate this pair of 1-pins. I don't want to draw a 3-pin and have to draw a 1-pin later. I want to isolate this pair. Okay, and it's also like a get rid of a dangerous tile early. But yes, that's exactly what I did in game. But this is something I wanted to talk about in terms of feasibility of completion of hand. Because like you and I can both admit, this is so hard to complete. Like if I wanted to draw it myself, I'd have to be praying really hard to get 2 specific tiles and create a new shape and get that all out before someone reaches, because this hand probably is not developed enough to get there. So I was in support of calling, because you don't complete fast enough if you want to keep it closed. And if you want to keep it open, you need Yaku, and your only Yaku, as you've accurately said, is probably Sanshoku. Chanta is too far away. So yes, I called this instantly. Well, not instantly. I think I burned my 15-second timer down to like 5 seconds because I was thinking this is the weirdest thing ever, but I think I have to. Because also, like, another worry, right? So in terms of the discussion, another worry is you are telegraphing your hand. What hand calls the 9-mon from a 7-8-mon other than either Chanta or Sanshoku? So you're immediately telling your player to your left what you're going for. And by doing that, you give them the ability to block your tiles. And so that's not great. But this hand is pretty valuable, the middle included, that I want to be able to open it up for speed. And maybe even in the early game, they may just end up cutting the 7s anyway, thinking, I can't give up this hand, or I don't have enough information to give up this hand, so I'm going to just give you some stuff. So this is something I want to discuss in terms of feasibility of completion of hand. I don't think you can complete this often enough if you keep closed. But I'm in a very, very heavy support of open. But yes, thank you so much, Amy. That was a really, really good answer. All right, what's next? Oh my god, I just went through my spice rack, didn't I? Theo, you're up again. Oh,
Jay.
cool. Yeah, sure. Yep. Hey, Rachel. Sorry, I have like the Discord up on my phone, so I have to read through. I don't mind just picking people out. Rachel, come on. So, what do you think?
Okay.
Here.
So if you call, wait. Actually, definitely call this because it's so early in the game. Like it's East 1, you're a dealer. Shimocha has already called a Yaku, and it's mid-game. You want to get closer to Tenpai, you're 2 Shanten. So just calling makes it easier to get to Tenpai.
Do you think that we're devaluing this hand too much if we call? Because we are turning what could be a Tanyao Ipeiko Dora or, Tanyao, Reach Tanyao to just a Tanyao
come from?
development around the 566 block?
Okay.
Theory. This is all theoretical
far away.
discussion.
I think Ipeiko's a little too far away. I think Tanyao, possibly one Dora would be pretty good.
So what do you think about the Shimocha's discards, or even like the Kamicha's discards? Oh, sorry. What do you think about the player to your right's discards, or even the player to your left's discards? So I think a lot of this stuff needs to be based upon what do you think about their board. So look at and tell me your opinion of their hand.
So Shimocha has called...
Shimocha, for who don't know, is the player to the right?
Yes.
Go on.
Has thrown Chun and dropped 2 Yaku honor tiles, a few middle tiles from their hand, and then Tsumogiri a 9-pin and an 8-so. It's kind of strange.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Do you think it's kind of fast, based on what they've taken for them? Yep.
It looks definitely fast. And then Kamicha has taken 3 Manzu tiles from their hand, and then Tsumogiri a 1-so that could be a Honitsu, but they dropped the north first, which is their own win, so I don't think they would do Honitsu with their own win drop first. And then Toyman doesn't look like they're getting anything. Actually, no, everything's come out of their hand.
So it's probably indicative of a crap hand.
Yeah.
Like these 5 tiles came from in the middle of the hand, as you've accurately stated, and that's just pretty crap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think something Aoi is mentioning in the lecture participation, and something that you pointed out, they are very close, and especially on this 3-pin cut, this is like, oh no, big red flags. Either they've isolated a 4-pin pair, and because of these mid tiles, they're very close to Tenpai, or this could even just be like they're in Tenpai. And like when you're in a Shanten and you float the tile close to the Dora in the hopes that you will draw the Dora and end up on a weight around the Dora.
Uh-huh.
So this could very be indicative of like a tile that's just like, you know what, I just got into Tenpai, let's get rid of this right now. So I think these considerations are important. And it's because of those considerations that I decided to take this. However, Korak, because I sent this into the WWYD for the public Mahjong Discord, Korak said, interestingly, cheap. Calling is a defensive play. You are defending by aggressing because you don't have enough to defend fully. This hand is mega spice. This hand is so spicy because, like, gosh, like they cut the 6-man as their first non-honor cut from the middle, then they cut the 7-pin, then they cut a 3-pin. It's like, oh my god, are they really close? Are they really valuable? You know, I don't know. Don't want to find out. So I did because I wanted to shut their hand down. And as you said, I am the first dealer. It is East 1. I can take a few risks. I can decide, you know what, I want to shut down your hand and almost leave myself as a 1500. So I took what you said, but I think it was important to talk about what Korak said, which was that you are devaluing this hand a lot, and the more aggressive play is to keep it closed for Reach Tanyao, maybe Reach Tanyao Dora, or maybe even in an imaginary, very, very hard to achieve world, Reach Tanyao Sanshoku. Because if you can see like a 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku being developed, potentially, maybe. Lots of asterisks on that one. Like, not you know, we have to squint at that a little bit, but you know, it is possible, I guess. And so yeah, so what you said was completely accurate. You know, that like, you know, this is close, and that, you know, taking this would be keeping pace with this player, because, you know, I don't want to let them run off on their own with this weird, scary, you know, hand. And also, I think something was worth thinking about for the players that are left is that they've started to cut shapes, right? They've cut the 6-man from inside their hand, then they've cut the 8-man. It's not indicative of their hand being good, but it's indicative of their hand getting better, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, when you imagine, like, you have to imagine, like, everyone you're playing around, they're going to play similarly to how you would play efficiently, right? So when you cut tiles, you start off with the honors unless you need them. And especially for you, Rachel, because I know you're the Junchan queen, the Chantaro Junchan queen. but then once you get rid of all that stuff that you don't need, you look at your shapes and you think, what is the worst shape here? And then you start getting rid of those. So there's normally penchans or kanchans, right? And so this is a kanchan riddance, which means that they're improving their shapes. I don't actually know if their shapes are good, but they're starting the process of improving them. Would you say that's fair enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's another consideration. If they're starting to improve their shapes, I also don't want to mess around with that. This hand is too good, foldable, that I wanted to push forward. But Korak, for full disclosure, Korak says I should not call this because the hand is too cheap otherwise, and it's the more aggressive play, ironically, to keep this hand closed and make it valuable and punish the player to your right.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really, really good answers. Alright, I think... Yeah, okay. Hey, Andrew. Welcome back. Omni-game?
Hey, I'm here. Sorry, my push to talk is on. Let's take a look. This is this is interesting to say the least. So we are dead last.
Bruh moment.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's East 3. We're dead last. We've already hit our dealer round for East. So we just our risk of folding, just without looking at the pawns or anything, just evaluating the position that we're in fourth, is that we really hard pressed to fold anything unless this is maybe. Yeah, I don't see where I would fold on anything. So looking at this, should I call it? So calling the Kanchan, you're stuck with Tonki weight if you discard the 8-pin or the 1-pin. Arguably, you don't see any of those other tiles in the pond. It's possible the 1-pin may be a better weight than a 8-pin here, just because there's more tiles discarded around it, because you don't see a lot of the 6 or 7s aside from the 7-pin that's in your hand and the 6 and Kamicha's full. Like your tile acceptance here is pretty good still, because you can pick up. Let's see, what can you pick up here? You can draw. You can still draw the 4. You can draw 2. You could draw another 1-pin. You could draw another 8 even. So like you still have a lot of chances to upgrade this if you don't call it. But also the fact is that you just need to win some points here too, because you're in last. It's only a one. Let's see, what 330, 340, like that. So 330. So do I call this? Because if I call and go on the way, like you're vastly decreasing your tile acceptance. So it is starting to get mid. It's getting to late game. This is a tough one. This is a tough one for me.
Hence why I plucked it from the records.
Yeah, this is tough. Looking at the pond. Yeah, see, I'm trying to look at pond zones because, again, I want to win points here. I'm not folding. Why is this tough? My instinct, just because there's so much tile acceptance, is to probably not call this. But at the same rate, you're vastly speeding up your hand by calling it. So my instinct is to not call it. But I think the right answer might be to call it.
This is something worth mentioning. Well, first of all, there was a chat about the 1-pin being a Suji trap. It doesn't quite work that way because the Riichi Suji only works for tiles from 2 to 8. So I'll talk about that. The 1-pin is not your classical Suji trap in this case. It quite work that way. But I'll talk about it later. Something that I think is worth discussing is Shanten is miles less valuable than Tenpai. Like, it is terrible, like almost uncomparable to compare Ishanten to Tenpai. Like, Tenpai is so important that often, even if your weight ends up being crap, if you are pressed for it, you kind of have to take the Tenpais. I understand the desire to want to keep it closed because maybe you can pick up something better yourself, right?
Right.
But so 2 important things. A few important things. One, this is Tenho, right? And so I only care about getting out of 4th place. I literally don't think I care about anything else, right? Like, it's just not important to me that, like, how many points. If I am on 20,000 points if I'm on 5,000 points and in 3rd, I'm happy in this scenario because I got pretty screwed. Because, I misplayed. So, who is reaching here? It's 3rd place, right? So imagine a scenario where if 3rd place wins off me, I'm going to predict that they just bankrupt, right? Like, I either bankrupt or end up on 300 points, which means I'm doomed anyways.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm on 300 points, I'm pretty screwed. Like, yes, I have the entire South round, but like maybe 95% of the time I'm screwed. If they sumo, and let's say they sumo something reasonable, like 1,300, 2,600, right? I end up on 2,900, and everyone else is about 20,000 points ahead of me.
Yep.
That's adding to the pool of I hate my life right now.
Yep.
And in those scenarios, you don't get a 4th place very often either. You don't in Mahjong. Good win rates in Mahjong are about 25%. You only win about 1 in 4 times. And I can't afford to throw this hand away. I don't win this hand very often. But if I do, that's still coming out of 4th. Easier than if I fold, or even if I go to 1 Shanten, the person to my left a chance to sumo, or even just a chance to win off me, right? Because if I go back to 1 Shanten, draw anything that is not a Pinzu tile, I will have to cut it. I just have to. It's just necessity at this point. And
Yeah.
if I have to cut it, then I'm stuffed. Like, if I deal in, I die anyways. But taking the tenpai is important, even though it is not a good tenpai. No matter which way you
it's
go,
not
it's
at all.
pretty crappy tenpai. No matter where you go, either 1-pin
absolutely.
Tanki or 8-pin. They're both horrible, horrible tempais. You kind of have to be like... Sorry, go on.
I was saying I'm not looking at the chat or anything to see what other people are saying, but yeah, I would tend to lead towards the 1-pin because it's Suzy Trap on the reach tile, and versus the 8. But yeah, like I said, I didn't try to look at the pawn too much because I know I wasn't folding, so I would only look at the pawn as to what's the better weight here.
Yeah, and so I think the correct discard is the correct thing is to call and take the 1-pin Tanki. I made the wrong discard, but notably I mess up. So I'm not a perfect player. But I think it's worth talking about. Even if you don't think you're gonna win, if all of your other options suck, take your least suckiest option. And your least suckiest option is praying that someone deals in.
Yeah.
It's just hope. Please,
it's just
don't
one of these
cringe.
Yeah, it's just one of these cringe situations when you count your tile accepts and it's like, you want to not call this because it's like a hand is fairly flexible even when you have 7 tiles left. It's like, the chances of me drawing this are better than other situations, but it's like you just gotta win, So yeah, you call it.
Yep, and I agree with that. Thank you. Yes, call it. Suckiest option. All your options suck, but take your least suckiest one. All right. I think that is my last example. Yes, when in doubt, I didn't preface this with anything, but I am a devout follower of the Church of Sanso. So whenever you're in doubt, just never cut Sanso. It never goes well for you. Praise be. So, a few resources for anyone. I think they're just good things to talk about. Riichi Book 1 is, according to Claire, it is very poorly written, but it is still too valuable as a resource. So if you get the chance, you should read it. Even if you know everything in the book, it is a good reminder of the fundamentals of the digital style of Mahjong. And Feng Slides. Feng Slides are a very, very, very good intermediate Mahjong resource. And so I would say that it is worth looking for. Please private message me if you want any of these resources. I'm more than happy to give them to you. They're public. Sorry, give me a second. That would be the end. Thank you to Riichi Nomi NYC, and especially to Claire for this opportunity. If you have any questions about any of the specific scenarios, please PM me. I've already run this lecture over to an hour and a half, so I'm going to end it here. But yeah, so if any of the scenarios are before and you wanted to discuss them with me more in depth, feel free to shoot me a message anytime, and if I'm awake, I will talk to you. But yeah, that ends that.